What happens when royal privilege meets working-class reality on live television? When someone who thinks they can control every narrative walks into a room full of women who have nothing left to lose? In just 35 seconds, one comment about British culture would ignite the most explosive meltdown in daytime TV history. Picture this: the Loose Women's studio, bright lights, familiar purple set, 4 women sitting around that iconic table, cameras rolling, thousands watching at home. It was supposed to be a friendly chat, a chance for Meghan Markle to share her side of the story, to connect with the British public she had struggled to win over. But Denise Welch, veteran broadcaster, straight-talking northern woman who built her career on saying exactly what she thinks, was not about to let this be another carefully orchestrated PR exercise. The tension was there from the moment Meghan walked onto that set. You could feel it through the screen, the way she carried herself, the slight tilt of her chin, the practiced smile that never quite reached her eyes. This was someone used to getting her way, used to people nodding along with whatever she said. Denise watched her take her seat, watched the pleasantries begin, and you could see in her expression that she was not impressed. Here was a woman who had worked her way up from nothing, who had fought for every opportunity, who had never had the luxury of walking away when things got difficult. The other panelists, Nadia Sawalha, Ruth Langsford, and Colleen Nolan, they were being polite, professional, asking the soft questions, letting Meghan settle into her comfort zone. But Denise was different. She was waiting. "So Meghan," Ruth began, leaning forward with that warm presenter smile, "tell us about your new projects. What you have been working on since stepping back from royal duties." Meghan launched into her rehearsed response, talking about her podcast, her Netflix deals, her charitable work. All very polished, all very safe, the kind of answers she had given 100 times before. "It has been such a journey of self-discovery," she said, her American accent crisp and clear. "Finding my authentic voice, being able to speak my truth without the constraints of the institution." Denise shifted in her chair. You could see her jaw tighten slightly. The word truth seemed to hang in the air like a challenge. Nadia jumped in next, keeping things light. "And how are the children? Archie and Lilibet must be growing so fast." "Oh, they are wonderful," Meghan beamed, and for the first time her smile seemed genuine. "They are so curious about the world, so full of questions. We are raising them to be proud of all parts of their heritage." "That must be important to you," Colleen added, "making sure they understand both sides of their family." Something flickered across Meghan's face at that comment, a tiny crack in the perfect facade. "Well," she said, her voice taking on a slightly sharper edge, "we are focusing on the positive influences in their lives, the people and cultures that celebrate who they are, rather than trying to diminish them." The room went quiet for just a beat too long. Ruth cleared her throat, trying to steer back to safer ground. "And Harry, how is he adjusting to life in California?" "Harry is thriving," Meghan said firmly. "He is finally free to be himself, away from all the negativity and the constant criticism. We both are." That was when Denise leaned forward, not aggressively, but with purpose. Her voice was calm, measured, but there was steel underneath it. "Free to be himself," she repeated slowly. "That is interesting, because from where I sit, it looks like he left behind his family, his friends, his military connections, his charities. That does not sound like freedom to me. That sounds like isolation." The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Meghan's smile faltered for just a second before snapping back into place. "I think that is a very unfair characterization, Denise," she said, her voice still controlled but with a warning edge. "Harry made his own choices. We made our choices together, as a couple, for the well-being of our family." "Did he, though?" Denise pressed on, ignoring the warning looks from the other panelists. "Because it seems to me like those choices coincidentally lined up perfectly with what you wanted. Funny how that works out." You could see Meghan calculating, trying to decide how to respond. This was not going according to script. This was not the sympathetic platform she had been promised. "I think you are oversimplifying a very complex situation," she said finally, her media training kicking in. "There were many factors involved in our decision to step back." "Oh, I am sure there were," Denise nodded, but her tone suggested she was not buying it. "Like the fact that you could not handle the scrutiny that comes with being a working royal. The fact that you expected special treatment and threw a tantrum when you did not get it." The other women looked uncomfortable now. This was going way off the rails. Ruth tried to interrupt. "I think we should maybe move on to talking about—" "No, let her finish," Meghan said, her voice tight. "I would like to hear what Denise has to say." It was a challenge, a dare. And Denise Welch was never one to back down from a fight. "What I have to say is this," Denise said, looking Meghan straight in the eye. "You married into the most famous family in the world and then acted surprised when people wanted to know about your life. You took the titles, took the privileges, took the platform, and then complained when it came with responsibilities." The mask was starting to slip now. Meghan's perfect composure was cracking around the edges. "That is completely unfair," she said, her voice rising slightly. "You have no idea what I went through, what we went through. The attacks, the lies, the racism." "Oh, here we go," Denise muttered under her breath, but the microphones picked it up. That was it. That was the moment everything exploded. "Excuse me?" Meghan's voice went ice cold. The practiced smile vanished completely. "What exactly do you mean by that?" Denise did not flinch. If anything, she seemed to sit up straighter, more determined than ever. "I mean that every time someone criticizes you or questions your behavior, you pull out the race card. Every single time. It is getting old, love." The studio fell silent. You could have heard a pin drop. The other panelists looked like they wanted to disappear into their chairs. The camera operators kept filming, knowing they were capturing television gold. Meghan's eyes flashed with fury. All pretense of royal composure was gone now. "How dare you?" she hissed. "How dare you sit there and minimize what I experienced? You think racism is just a card I pull out when things get difficult? I think you use it as a shield," Denise shot back, her northern accent getting thicker as her passion rose. "Any legitimate criticism gets dismissed as racism. Any uncomfortable question gets turned into an attack on your identity. It is manipulative, and it is dishonest." "You do not know what you are talking about," Meghan snapped, her American politeness completely evaporating. "You have no idea what it is like to be the only person of color in that family, in that institution. The comments that were made, the way I was treated." "Oh, please," Denise interrupted, and you could see she was done being diplomatic. "Spare me the victim routine. You were welcomed with open arms. The Queen herself gave you her blessing. The British public was excited to have you. You had every opportunity to succeed." "Welcomed with open arms?" Meghan laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is that what you call it when the press writes lies about me every single day? When they call me difficult and demanding for having opinions? When they compare me to my sister-in-law and find me lacking at every turn? The press writes about everyone in that family." Denise countered. "Kate gets criticized too. William gets criticized. Charles got absolutely destroyed for years. That is what happens when you are in the public eye. The difference is, they do not run away crying when it gets tough." That hit a nerve. Meghan's face flushed red with anger. "Running away crying? Is that what you think happened?" "That is exactly what I think happened," Denise said firmly. "You expected to waltz in there and change centuries of tradition to suit your preferences. When you realized it did not work that way, you threw your toys out of the pram and dragged Harry down with you." Ruth tried desperately to regain control of the interview. "Ladies, perhaps we should take a step back here." "No," Meghan said, her voice sharp as a blade. "I want to hear more from Denise, since she seems to be such an expert on my life and my experiences." The sarcasm was dripping from every word. This was not the polished, media-trained Duchess anymore. This was someone losing her temper on live television. "I am not an expert on your life," Denise replied calmly, "but I am an expert on recognizing entitled behavior when I see it. And love, you are textbook." "Entitled?" Meghan's voice went up an octave. "Entitled? Do you know what entitled looks like? Entitled is a family that thinks they can treat people however they want because of an accident of birth. Entitled is an institution that refuses to modernize, that silences women who speak up, that perpetuates systems of oppression." "There we go again," Denise said, shaking her head. "Everything is oppression with you. The most privileged woman on the planet, married to a prince, living in palaces, and you want us to feel sorry for you because you had to follow some rules." "Rules?" Meghan was fully shouting now. "You call racism rules? You call harassment and bullying rules?" The other panelists were looking around desperately, trying to figure out how to stop this train wreck. But Denise was not backing down. "I call accountability rules," she fired back. "I call doing your job rules. I call representing the crown with dignity rules. Things you clearly struggled with." "Oh, this is rich," Meghan said, her voice dripping with contempt. "A woman who made her career playing a drunk on a soap opera wants to lecture me about dignity." The studio gasped. That was a low blow, and everyone knew it. Denise had been open about her struggles with alcoholism, her time on Coronation Street, her journey to sobriety. It was a deeply personal attack. But instead of crumbling, Denise smiled, a cold, knowing smile. "At least I earned my career," she said quietly. "I did not marry into it." The words hung in the air like a slap. Meghan went very still, very quiet. When she spoke again, her voice was deadly calm. "What did you just say to me?" "You heard me," Denise said. "Everything you have, every opportunity, every platform you got, because you married the right man. Without Harry, you would still be a failed actress doing cable TV movies." "Failed actress?" Meghan repeated, her voice getting dangerously quiet. "Is that what you think?" "I think you were on a basic cable legal drama that nobody watched," Denise said bluntly. "I think you were struggling to get decent roles. I think marrying Harry was the best career move you ever made. That was it, the final straw." Meghan exploded. "You bitter, jealous old woman," she screamed, jumping to her feet. "You sit there on your little daytime talk show, desperate for relevance, attacking people who are actually making a difference in the world." The studio erupted. Production assistants were running around. The director was shouting instructions. The other panelists were trying to calm things down. But Meghan was not finished. "You know what your problem is, Denise? You cannot stand that someone like me, someone who looks like me, could rise above your small-minded expectations. You cannot handle that. I refuse to be quiet and grateful and invisible like you wanted me to be." Denise stood up too, matching Meghan's energy but keeping her voice controlled. "My problem is spoiled brats who think the world owes them something," she said coldly. "My problem is people who play victim while living lives of incredible privilege. My problem is watching someone destroy a good man because she could not handle being second fiddle to his grandmother." Second fiddle? Meghan was practically vibrating with rage. "I was never going to be second fiddle to anyone. I have my own voice, my own power, my own influence. That family tried to silence me, and I refused to let them." "So you destroyed it instead?" Denise shot back. "Congratulations. You got what you wanted. You are the center of attention. Harry lost his family. But hey, at least you got your Netflix deal, right?" The accusation hit home. For just a moment, something flickered across Meghan's face. Doubt? Guilt? But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by even more fury. "You do not know what you are talking about," Meghan snarled, but her voice was shaking now. "You do not know Harry. You do not know our relationship. You do not know anything about what we have been through." "I know enough," Denise replied, her voice steady as a rock. "I know a manipulator when I see one. I know what it looks like when someone isolates their partner from everyone who cares about them. Classic textbook behavior." "Isolates?" Meghan laughed hysterically. "I freed him. I saved him from a toxic family that never appreciated him, never valued him, never saw his worth." "You mean you convinced him that everyone who loved him was against him?" Denise countered. "Very convenient for you, was it not? Now he only has you to rely on. Only you to tell him what to think." Ruth was frantically gesturing to the production team, trying to get them to cut to commercial. But this was live television. There was nowhere to hide. "That is completely untrue," Meghan said, but her voice cracked slightly. "Harry makes his own decisions. He chose to leave because he could see what that place was doing to us, to our children. He chose to leave because you made him choose between you and his family," Denise said bluntly, "and you made sure there was only one acceptable answer." "Stop putting words in my mouth," Meghan screamed. "You do not get to rewrite our story to fit your narrow-minded narrative." "I do not need to rewrite anything," Denise said calmly. "The facts speak for themselves. Before you, Harry was close to his brother, devoted to his grandmother, committed to his military charities. After you, he is estranged from his family, living thousands of miles away, doing celebrity interviews instead of royal duties." "Royal duties?" Meghan spat. "You mean ribbon-cutting ceremonies and meaningless photo opportunities? We are doing real work now, important work, work that actually matters." "Important work like your podcast where you complain about your problems to celebrities?" Denise raised an eyebrow. "Or your Netflix show where you talk about how hard your life is? Very meaningful." Pauline tried to jump in, desperate to defuse the situation. "I think we are all getting a bit heated here. Maybe we should." "No," Meghan whirled around to face her. "Do not try to shut me down too. That is what you all do, is it not? The moment someone speaks truth to power, the moment someone refuses to stay in their lane, you all band together to silence them." "Nobody is trying to silence you," Nadia said gently. "We are just trying to have a conversation." "A conversation?" Meghan laughed bitterly. "This is not a conversation. This is an ambush. This is exactly the kind of hostile environment I had to deal with every single day when I was working for the firm. The firm, Denise repeated mockingly. Even your language is manipulative. You make it sound like you were working for the mafia instead of one of the most respected institutions in the world. Respected by who? Meghan shot back. By people like you who worship tradition over progress? Who think change is scary and threatening? I think earning respect is better than demanding it, Denise replied. I think proving yourself is better than expecting special treatment because of who you married. Special treatment? Meghan was back to screaming. I never asked for special treatment. I asked for basic human decency. I asked to be protected from lies and attacks. I asked for my family to be treated with respect. You asked for everyone to change the way they had done things for centuries to accommodate your preferences? Denise shot back. You wanted your own court, your own rules, your own way of doing everything. Because their way was not working, Meghan shouted. Their way was outdated and racist and sexist, and I was not going to be a part of it. So you destroyed it instead? Denise said, her voice getting harder. You could not change it fast enough, so you burned it all down. Very mature. I did not destroy anything, Meghan said, but her voice was getting higher, more desperate. I tried to modernize it. I tried to make it relevant, but they were too threatened by a strong woman who would not be controlled. Strong women do not run away when things get difficult, Denise said coldly. Strong women stick it out. They work within the system to create change. They do not throw tantrums and storm off in a huff. I am not throwing a tantrum, Meghan yelled, completely oblivious to the irony. I am defending myself against unfair attacks. You are proving my point, Denise said with a slight smile. This right here, this meltdown, this is exactly what I am talking about. The moment someone challenges you, the moment someone does not bow down and agree with everything you say, you lose it. The other panelists were watching in horror as Meghan completely unraveled in front of them. This was beyond anything they had ever seen on daytime television. I am not having a meltdown, Meghan said through gritted teeth, but her hands were shaking and her voice was barely under control. I'm standing up for myself, which is something you clearly do not understand. Standing up for yourself? Denise nodded thoughtfully. Is that what you call it when you throw your new family under the bus in front of millions of people? When you air private conversations on international television? When you make serious accusations without proof? I told the truth, Meghan shrieked. Everything I said was the truth. Your version of the truth, Denise corrected. Your one-sided, self-serving version designed to make you look like the victim and everyone else look like the villain. They are the villains. Meghan was completely losing it now, her voice breaking, tears of rage streaming down her face. They tried to break me. They tried to silence me. They tried to make me disappear. Nobody tried to make you disappear, Denise said firmly. They tried to teach you how to do the job properly. Big difference. The job? Meghan laughed hysterically. What job? Smiling and waving, and never having an opinion about anything? Never speaking up about injustice? Never using my platform for good? The job of serving others instead of serving yourself, Denise replied. Something you never quite grasped. That was the breaking point. Meghan completely snapped. I have had enough of this, she screamed, her voice echoing through the studio. I do not have to sit here and listen to this garbage from a washed-up nobody who peaked 20 years ago. She started to storm off the set, but turned back for one final attack. You are all the same. Small-minded, jealous, bitter people who cannot stand to see someone rise above their circumstances. You want to keep everyone in boxes, keep everyone quiet and obedient. Well, I will never be quiet. I will never be obedient. And I will never let people like you tear me down. Security had been called and were approaching the set, but Meghan was not finished. You think you won something here today, Denise? You think you proved some point? All you proved is that you are exactly the kind of person who made my life hell. Congratulations. Ladies, one of the security guards said gently, we need to wrap this up. Do not touch me. Meghan whirled on him. I am leaving on my own terms. She grabbed her purse and headed for the exit, but could not resist one final parting shot. This is exactly why Harry and I had to leave. This toxic, nasty, small-minded mentality. You can keep your bitter little island. We are building something better. And with that, she was gone, leaving behind a studio full of shocked faces and the most explosive television moment in recent history. Denise sat back down calmly, straightened her jacket, and looked directly into the camera. Well, she said with a slight smile, I think that rather proved my point, did it not? The studio remained silent for several long seconds before Ruth finally found her voice. We will be right back after this break. As the cameras stopped rolling, the full magnitude of what had just happened began to sink in. This was not just a heated discussion gone wrong. This was a complete public meltdown, broadcast live to millions of viewers. The mask had not just slipped, it had been torn completely away, revealing something ugly underneath. Denise remained seated, looking almost serene after the storm. She had stood her ground, refused to be intimidated, and in the end, had been proven absolutely right. Sometimes the truth hurts, but that does not make it any less necessary. The other panelists slowly began to process what they had witnessed, while production crew members scrambled to deal with the aftermath. But for Denise Welch, veteran broadcaster and straight-talking Northern woman, it was just another day at the office. She had said what needed to be said, and she was not sorry for it. In the end, the truth had won out. And sometimes, that is all that really matters.